Listen up. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the podcast participants, and not to any participant's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. You know, for fun. So lighten up and enjoy. Stomping Jen.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Soft Serve Podcast.
2022.
It is 2022. This is the first one we're recording in 2022. Isn't that right?
No.
It isn't? Oh. Okay, this is the second one we're recording in 2022.
That's true.
I'm excited about this. This is our first guest that we're
That's
recording
true.
with in 2022. Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm excited. We're going to be talking with Jen Wood from Speakman Sisters, Natural Hand-Dyed Yarns.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And this is kind of, in my mind, a follow-up in a sense to the podcast we did with Fiber Artist.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked to that person a lot about fiber and fiber arts. And Jen and Jen's company, Speakman Sisters, makes yarn that people use for all different purposes, including fiber art. So in my mind, there's like a connection there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really interested, and I have a lot of questions because
You
I've been
always have a lot.
I've been
of questions.
examining materials for a week,
Oh,
so I have
good.
lots of questions. So,
Awesome.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so what do I do next?
You hit the button.
All right, I'm going to need help as we go into 2022. This red button?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Soft Serve Podcast.
Creamy, delicious ideas without the creepy truck. Hi, Stomping Jen, again. How you
Again?
doing? Yeah,
Again.
I'm saying hi to you again as we come out of the intro music.
Super weird.
I know.
I'm a little,
I'm trying to get you off kilter.
you already have done that.
Yeah. Well, let's say hi to Jen Wood. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to talk to you because, as I was saying before the intro music, we talked to a fiber artist before, and I had like lots of questions for her about the materials she used, like the yarns and the wools and stuff. And so when I saw on our calendar that we were going to be talking to you, I got really excited because that was a really interesting conversation to me. So I'm super jazzed to be talking with you. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So I just want to open up by allowing you just to tell us a little bit more about yourself and your company, Speakman Sisters, Natural Hand-Dyed Yarns. So just tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I live in Worcester. I'm from Worcester. I have been a knitter and crocheter for almost 20 years. And I started dyeing yarn, fall of 2020.
Okay.
I had an overabundance of marigolds in my garden, in my pandemic garden. And it was getting time to get the garden all shut down. And what am I doing with all these marigolds? So I went online and discovered that I could dye yarn with them. And I got all the ingredients together that I needed, some undyed yarn, went in the kitchen and was absolutely floored at the color that I got.
That's cool.
It was this most amazing bright yellow. And I was hooked. No crochet pun intended.
And how so you mentioned that you got interested in this during the pandemic, and I'm sorry if I missed it. Were you interested in fiber and fiber arts
Yes.
before that? So this is what got you what got you thinking, like, I can do this? I can dye my own yarn. Like, what was that spark?
Really, well, I had been a knitter and crocheter for almost 20 years, and really I hadn't been able to do it in a while because I was also a massage therapist for almost 20 years, and I was dealing with injury.
Okay.
And so I stopped knitting and crocheting a while ago so that I could work. Now I'm not even doing that anymore. I'm not massaging. So I wanted to stay in doing something with yarn in the fiber world. And those marigolds, they just told me, like, this is what you're going to do now. And getting that bright yellow, that beautiful color right away, having a success right away helps in something that you want to try. The next few times I dyed, it wasn't a huge success, but I knew it was possible, so I kept going.
Do you have a big garden? I would imagine that it takes a lot of marigolds to produce some dye for it to be usable. So did you have a lot of them available to you?
For some reason that year we did. I actually planted marigolds that I bought at the store, in full bloom, but I planted 2 marigold plants that I started from seed. And these 2 particular plants grew to like 5 feet tall, covered in flowers. I had never seen such a thing. So I did. I had a lot of them. We don't have a huge garden, but those plants were 5 feet tall.
That's crazy. I've never seen a 5-foot marigold plant ever.
Usually the ones we grow, like, they're short and stubby.
Yeah.
And we put them around tomatoes.
They're like border plants.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Border plants.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to keep mosquitoes away.
Was this like a special variety that you found seeds of, or it was just like a mystery?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't remember. They were a pack that somebody just kind of gave me. And I thought they were going to be short border plants, like you just said. But these particular, and they grew orange and yellow flowers.
Oh, cool.
So I had a mix.
Huh. And so before we get into the technical aspects of this, and I have a bunch of questions about it. I wanted to ask you about the name of your company, Speakman Sisters. Could you talk to us a little bit? Because I understand it has some special meaning to you, and even to Worcester, where you reside. So could you talk a little bit about that?
The Speakman Sisters were my Nana and her 5 sisters. They grew up in South Worcester. Sort of in the neighborhood of between Canterbury Street and Cambridge Street. There were 6 sisters. They also had an older brother who was killed in World War II and is buried at Normandy. They were very tight, very close family, very, very close. And my Nana was one of the youngest. My Nana had a twin, so it was Betty and Barbara Speakman. They were the youngest. They spent, at least Betty and Barbara spent their entire lives living in that neighborhood. Wow. I'm not sure like why I wanted to name it that. It just came to me and I went with it. So.
Yeah. Did you grow up around all of that family in Worcester? Like, were you? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. My mother's side of the family, my mother's side of the family, which is her mother, is my Nana Betty. We were very close to that family. Yeah. Spent a lot of time with them.
Were they into fiber arts or knitting or anything like that? Anyone in your family? Yeah.
No. In fact, no one in my family taught me to knit. Some random stranger that I only knew for like a couple months taught me to knit when I was like 30. So no, they actually didn't do any crafts. I asked around in my extended family to find out, did any of the sisters do any kind of crafts? No, they had no time for that. They had to work and raise their families. They did not have time for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just thinking about my own grandmother. I think it was probably from that same era, and she did no crafts.
She didn't craft?
No, my mother.
Your mother was a
my
huge
mother was
crafter.
an insane crafter. I mean, could craft anything and crafted all day long. But my grandmother was so busy working, and she would just fill her free time with work. Like she would clean the house, polish furniture, like rearrange the cabinets, there's something, and I think it's from
That
growing up in that era.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I love that you stayed in Worcester. I grew up in Massachusetts, and I didn't know a lot about Worcester, and it wasn't until later in my life I discovered what an amazing city Worcester is. I had no idea there's this.
You mean last summer?
Last summer too, but we'd gone to that revitalized district in Worcester near the new ballpark, and we're blown away by what they're doing there in terms of businesses, and it was a nice place to go and spend the day. But it's such a huge, amazing city.
Yeah.
And does it hold a special place for you? And do you like? And does it mean something to have to start growing a business there and trying to do something in Worcester? Does that mean something to you?
It does. It's my home.
Yeah.
I've lived here my whole life, except for 1 year. I lived in the Southwest, but it's my home. It does mean a lot to me to have a business, to be part of the community here. Previous to this, I owned a spa, basically, massage therapy spa. And, it was important to me to be part of the community then as well. And the fact that I'm dyeing yarn with some materials that I grow here in the city, and some materials I forage for here in the city, which people think, you must have to live out in the country to do that. But no.
Yeah. What kind of stuff are you able to forage for the ingredients? And these are the ingredients for the dyes that you use to color the yarn, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Around here, I live near Worcester State University. And we have a dog who needs a walk twice a day. I actually pick up a lot of my materials walking around the baseball field at Worcester State.
Huh.
It's what everyone would consider weeds: goldenrod, milkweed, Queen Anne's lace, Joe Pye weed. I pick up acorns. During the fall, I would walk the dog in the morning and come home with one pocket full of acorns, put them in a jar, and just keep doing that until I had a lot of acorns.
In my mind, I feel like I know, okay, I see a goldenrod and a yellow flower, and in my mind, I know those are going to make yellow dye. What do the acorns do?
Brown.
Okay.
Acorns contain a lot of tannin.
Okay.
So you're going to get browns from that.
Okay. And I saw too on your website that you use insects sometimes as components.
Yes.
What?
It's nothing I pick up around here. I have to order those.
What kind of insects would you use as an ingredient?
Well, the most common one is, and I know I always mispronounce it, cochineal. It is a beetle that lives on prickly pear cactus.
Huh.
So it does not. You don't find it around here. It has been used, it's crushed, and it has been used to dye textiles for thousands of years. One of the oldest dyes.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and so then we have things like berries, roots, and am I right in thinking, roughly speaking, the color of the thing you're foraging or you're crushing? You're shaking your head. No, so I'm way off base. Help me here.
No, in fact, I get that a lot. Yeah. And with berries, yes, what you see is what you get.
Okay.
But I dyed with pomegranate this fall, and it's the rind that you're using. It's not the seeds, and you get like a yellow.
What?
Yeah, you get yellow. Yes. And people go, wait, what? I would expect red. But just because, again, pomegranate rind has a lot of tannin. So, yeah, just because the outside of something, it does not mean that the chemical structure, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm not a chemist. I just pretend to be one in the basement.
Now, are there
scientists?
Are you discovering this stuff through trial and error? Are there like resources for you to look at? Like, is there a book like you can look at and say, okay, this ingredient's going to give me this color?
Both.
Okay.
I have several dyeing books, natural dyeing books. And there are lots of websites. There are lots of people who do this. And yes, trial and error, because not everyone who writes these books or has a YouTube channel doing it lives in my area. So I will just see something and go, I wonder, take it home, just pick a little. Take it home and simmer it and see what happens. And if nothing happens, then what did I lose? Nothing.
Yeah. And your specialty, that the Speakman Sisters, what you produce through your company are these natural hand-dyed yarns. And so those are any type of yarn that you dye with these ingredients that are not synthetic, right? You're getting them out of nature yourself, or you're ordering them online, but they're natural ingredients.
Yes, the dyes and the yarn as well.
Yeah.
I use I currently only use protein fibers, so animal fibers only. They take natural dyes better than something like cotton or linen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that's because of the structure of the plant cell, right? That's a harder thing to get the dye into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's an extra step in getting plant fiber yarn ready for the dye, and I don't have the patience.
Yeah.
I just don't have the patience.
Can you get like all the colors, like every spectrum color, or
green is the hardest to get from nature, believe it or not.
Oh, that's weird.
Because most of your green plants are going to give you yellow dye. So green is really tricky, and a lot of times you have to change the color of the dye with a modifying liquid. So you can use things like iron. You can use copper, acids, and alkaline solutions to change and modify colors. If you pre-soak a yarn in a copper solution, you will start out with a green colored yarn. Mm-hmm. That copper solution will dye the yarn a pale, pale, pale green, so that when you put it into your dye, if you put it into a yellow dye, you may get a darker green or blue.
That makes sense to me, because copper turns green when you leave it out.
When you
ever notice that?
Did I ever notice that?
Yeah.
Yes, with all my copper.
Yeah. This gold ring you got me is apparently copper.
Oh my gosh.
It turned green. I wanted to talk about the color. Sorry.
That's for another show.
That's part of our thing.
I was looking on your website, which is an awesome website. I want people to go and check it out.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I built it myself, so thank you.
It looks really good. And people, go check it out. It's the SpeakmanSisters.com. I'm going to have all of the links in the show notes. I'll say that up front. So all the stuff we're talking about or I'm referencing, you can go and find in our podcast show notes. But I love the color profile of these natural dyes, right? Like, they are soothing to look at. It's like the purples and the yellows aren't like intense and in your face. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I don't know how to describe it. They feel like, it feels nice to look at them.
Like natural?
Yeah. Is that part of like natural? I knew I was paying you for something, Stomping Jen.
Oh boy.
So is is that part of the allure of using this process? Is that feel that the colors give you, or is there something else behind this?
You're gonna get some subtle muted colors, but I've also pulled off some pretty bright, flashy colors.
Yeah.
Especially with that insect, with the cochineal, it gives you a bright red, and you can play with that. You leave it in the dye a little longer, you get the dark red. If you take it out, if you only have it in there for a short time, you're going to get like a pink. I think, it's funny. There are a lot of hand dyers. It's a popular hobby for people who knit and crochet, and most of them use acid dyes. So they're going to get like eye popping. You'll never find this color in nature. Colors from that. And yeah, the draw with the natural dyes is that it looks closer to what's out there.
Yeah.
And this is the way textiles have been dyed for thousands of years. I use a material called logwood that was used by the Puritans to dye their clothes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There is this process is as old as human civilization itself, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And do you think
Absolutely.
Do you ever think about that as you're sitting there making this stuff, like, and reflect on that?
All the time.
Yeah.
I am, I got my degree in anthropology, so cultural, just culture and society. It fascinates me, and my focus was the history and culture of food, but this has sparked another interest in me that, this is the way it's been done. And there really was there a need that we had to start to use chemicals? Why did we head in that direction? Mm-hmm. Nature had provided us with it. I guess, the flashy colors of the 80s wouldn't have worked, but without chemicals.
Yeah. A lot about the 80s wouldn't have worked without chemicals. I think. Yeah, and I'm serious about this. Like, we're gonna need people like you who know how to do this stuff when it all collapses. Because I need a colored cardigan.
You need a color palette.
Yes, I need a
when it all comes down, you need to look good.
Yes.
Yes,
right.
I need.
You're very vain.
Yeah, I know.
You just bought a cardigan.
I did buy a cardigan.
You literally just bought a cardigan.
I know. Well, one of my resolutions was I was going to wear more cardigans this year, so I had to get another one. So
you should learn how to knit yourself one.
But I would love to. And this one was wool. It was all wool.
Yeah.
I got another one, and
the other one was synthetic.
It was synthetic, and this one is just. I haven't put it on yet, but I'm going to wear it tomorrow.
Oh, are you excited?
It's going to make its debut tomorrow on my body. Yes, I am excited. But I love natural fibers, and I know you said you are they called protein-based fibers, like the animal fibers? I know you said you work with those for the dyeing. I got to be honest. I don't care for these plant fibers, Stomping Jen.
You mean like a?
Yeah.
I didn't say what.
Oh, what were you going to say?
I don't know. I was thinking like what
cotton. You don't like cotton?
Cotton and linen and stuff.
I'm not a fan of cotton.
Bamboo?
No.
You like wool.
I love wool.
Scrubbed, like itchy wool.
Yeah, I love it. Something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
but we don't knit.
We don't knit.
My grandmother tried in vain.
Yeah.
Passed along that skill. My great grandmother passed along that skill to my mom, but
our 11-year-old recently,
that's what I was going to say,
who we call Space Unicorn on this podcast, knitted a whole blanket.
Yeah,
or was that crocheting?
I was crocheting,
but still
nice.
But yeah, fascinating.
I couldn't do it.
I don't have the patience.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. And I wanted to talk, Jen, a little bit about the process. I watched one of your Facebook videos on your Facebook page, and
oh boy,
that was something else. I played it, and it looked like there were a bunch of pots on a stove, and it looked like you had this really cool area. So I just wanted you to walk us through if you have a I don't know what you call it, a package of yarn or something that you want to dye. Like, how do you do that? Like, what's the process you use?
Okay. The yarn needs to, there's a pre-dye process.
Okay.
It's called the mordant. So it has to be I don't know if you're supposed to use this word as a verb, but I do all the time. You have to mordant the yarn. So typically that involves simmering the undyed yarn in water that has had alum and cream of tartar added to it.
What's alum?
Alum is it's in the spice aisle, usually comes in one of those tiny jars.
Huh.
And it helps, along with the cream of tartar, helps for the dyes to stick to the yarn and stay.
Okay.
And most natural dyes require you to mordant. You can also mordant with copper, which is how when I said earlier, you'd end up starting with a pale green yarn.
Yeah.
The copper works as well, like to attract the dye to the yarn.
Huh.
So that has to be done I usually simmer that for about an hour. Then give it a rinse in case there's any extra alum or cream of tartar that didn't dissolve and stuck to it. Give it a rinse, and then it can go into your dye. The dye, again, the same thing. The materials go into the water, into a pot of water, and you simmer those. Some things need to be simmered a little longer than others, and then strain them. And now you bring the yarn and the dye together and simmer those, usually somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes. And that's it.
Yeah, and I noticed on that Facebook video, you had like a pot of grass that somebody named Chris had cut. You had mentioned, like there was a stove pot full of grass cooking on the cooking.
My husband had just mowed the lawn.
Yeah,
that's an example of try something.
Yeah,
I couldn't find anything on the internet or anything about using grass. I know that if you fall in the grass, you're going to stain your clothes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I went for it, and
did it work?
I had 4 small skeins, and I put them all in, and I got like this awful beige color.
Okay.
So then I took the opportunity to do a little experimenting, and I took each skein, divided the dye into 4 pots. And then I added an alkaline solution to one, and an acid solution to the other, and copper to another, and iron to the 4th. And then I ended up with 4 different colors. They're all sort of blah, but they're a different shade of green. Each one's a different shade of green.
Huh. You are like a mad scientist.
Yeah.
It's chemistry and art.
That's super fun.
Put together.
And once, so after you cook it in the pots and it gets some color, how do you wrap it up some way? Like, how do you package it and get it ready? Like, it has to dry out, I'm assuming, for a while.
Yeah, it does. I hang it to dry. And in my house, which is where I do this, it has a routine, like sort of goes around the house, different places that it will dry. It has stages in this house. So when it's done like dripping and it's not like going to leak all over the place, it can come in upstairs from the basement, and then it can go here, and then it can go get there. But then after it's dry, I just wind it back into the form that it was when I got it. Yep. And it's ready to be sold. Wow. Give it a name, slap a label on it.
Question. Many questions. First question. Now I forgot it because I talked about questions.
It was about wrapping it up.
It wasn't about
preparing
wrapping
it to sell.
No.
Naming.
No.
I noticed some of the names of your yarn were people, right? Some of them named after your nana and your great aunts, right? Yes.
So the yarn is typically the fiber that it is, like if it's alpaca or it's wool and it's different thicknesses. Typically a yarn company will, they'll have let's say they have 100% alpaca that's really thin, and they have a 100% wool that's a thicker. They name them. That this is this line and this is this line. So I've done that with my yarns as well. So each of the Speakman sisters has a line named after them. And then things that pertain to them, you might see as well. So my Nana's name she went by Betty, but her real name was Bernice, which she hated. So I have a Bernice, but I also have a Betty. And they're two different yarns. And then the colors of my yarns, I don't know. I just sort of come up with crazy things.
My questions.
Go ahead.
All right. So the first one is, how do you make do you need to fix the dye somehow so it doesn't like come out in washing and all of that kind of stuff?
Natural dyes, just rinse until it's clear.
Okay.
Yep. I've tried vinegar and salt for some, and it's worked, but it can change the color too. So I try not to. I've gotten away from that.
So if you like use it to like knit something, you can wash it and the dye won't come out.
I would not. Well, yes, you can wash. You can hand wash.
Right.
Natural dyed yarn. I wouldn't do it too often.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't leave it out in the sun.
Right.
That is the drawback with natural dyes.
Okay.
Versus the acid dyes and the chemicals. These are going to fade. They are going to fade. There is nothing I can do about it. That is Mother Nature.
And I think that's beautiful, though. Like in a way, like I like the way. Yeah, like I like the way the fabric changes with time, right? Like, and also I just want to say, like, I don't think I've ever washed or cleaned a wool sweater. I have ever. Like it doesn't.
That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon.
Jen's
usually wear.
Jen's looking at me like I'm not ever visiting you.
You usually are wearing something underneath it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you think, oh, it's not touching my body.
Yeah.
But if you spilled something on it, you probably
have to
would.
wash
I just give it the brush off. That's it.
Okay.
Just the brush. But what I'm saying is like those fibers are incredible. Like they're incredibly resilient in my. That's one of the reasons I like those natural fibers like that, like wool, because it just like it doesn't pick up odor. Maybe I just stink and I don't realize it's stomping jet, but I don't perceive that it picks up odors like anything like that.
I think because it's so itchy, you wear a shirt underneath. Like
I don't know. But anyways, the point is, like,
most people don't wash their hats and scarves and mittens.
Yeah, and and Jen, you say that on your website, like these are naturally dyed yarns. They are going to fade. Like there's no secrets here.
All right. My other question.
Go ahead.
Was, are you able to replicate the same color by using the same process? Or
I had that question too.
Because like if you you need like multiple. I just know this because Space Unicorn was like knitting this blanket and kept saying, "Oh, I need another skein of yarn," and I'm like, "How many skeins of yarn do you need?" So like if you have somebody who's buying the yarn and they need like X amount of skeins, and like you only like have. Okay, you know where my question's going.
Yes. So I don't have a large facility. I have a very small workshop in my basement that my husband built for me. It's 6.5 by 8 feet. So I can only do so much, and I only have so much. The pots are only so big because they fit on the stove. So I dye in very, very small batches. So I don't typically dye enough for someone to make a sweater or a blanket. But it's very difficult for me to replicate it because I don't write anything down. I started out doing that and I was like, you know what? I just want to do this. I don't want to be making notes, and that makes it feel like work.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to dye. So I just do it and I go, all right, I'm going to try this color and I'm going to try it on 3 because I'm feeling like this is going to be a success. So I'll put 3 in there. If I'm not sure, I'll put 1 and then go, okay, this is something that would work. I can get it close the next time. So it's hard.
Yeah.
My yarns can literally be one of a kind.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Small batch.
Yeah, and I imagine that's appealing to a certain sector of people who are interested in these types of yarns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I say to someone, that is literally the only skein, like that's it. If you don't, and if you like it and you don't buy it,
yeah,
right,
that usually does the trick.
Yeah. You saw some of these in person, Stomping Jen, right? Is that how you connected with Jen for the podcast? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like seeing them? Did you touch them?
They're very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any quote unquote use for it because I don't do any.
Well, you're not
stuff.
into the fiber arts.
Yeah, that's just not my thing.
You have a different art medium that you dabble in.
I totally appreciate it because I like color and
yeah.
They're
just they're so beautiful. I'm like really going to encourage people to look at the Speakman Sisters website and look at these yarns. You call the bundle skeins. Is that what they're called? I'm picking up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at them. They're absolutely beautiful. So, all right. So you have the pots on the stove. Do you use any other types of machines? Like, do you have to do anything?
No.
Anything else?
I occasionally I have to use my Swift, which is
Swift.
Yeah. Knitters know ball winder and Swift. They usually come together, and it's how you would wind. I know this is not a video podcast, but you can see me. This is I'd have to wind this again, or to use it to knit with, I would need to wind it. Okay. So I would put it on the Swift, and it would connect to the ball winder, and it turns it into a usable. We call it a cake because it sort of looks like a cake when you're done winding it.
Yep. So Jen was holding up like a circular thing of yarn. What kind of is that? What kind of wool is that? Is it? Should I call it wool? Is that the right thing to call it?
Yeah, this is merino, and this is how it goes in the pot.
Okay.
Like this.
Yep.
When I sell it,
you twist
it will.
Yep. Jen's twisting it up.
It's twisted up and it's sold like.
Oh,
like
okay.
this.
It looks like a braid almost, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, very cool.
like a babka.
And that's how it comes to me.
Okay. Do you buy your yarn and your wool all from the same like sources? Do you have, or do you just get it wherever you can source it from, or do you have like farms that you get it from? Or
I would love to be able to get it from local farms. It's not financially feasible.
Yeah.
It's not economic at all. Like I do use the same companies. They're all based here in this country. Okay. I have wholesale accounts with them.
Good.
I use about 3 or 4 different companies because I get certain yarns that I like from each one.
Yeah.
What?
I was just thinking about all the different types of animals that make yarn.
Yeah.
So we have llamas, sheeps,
alpaca.
Is merino rabbits?
No.
What is
merino's a wool. It's a type of sheep.
A sheep.
So within wool, you've got merino.
Why was it funny? I didn't know.
I don't know why it was funny. It just was.
Okay, sorry.
That's Angora.
Angora.
Rabbits.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep.
Yes.
Angora.
But within wool, you have different breeds of sheep. So you have different types of wool. Merino is one. There's a popular one that's called blue-faced Leicester.
Oh.
And it's spelled Leicester like the town.
Yeah.
Blue-faced Leicester sheep mainly mainly bred in England.
Yeah.
And the fur on their faces looks blue.
Huh.
It's a gray, but it looks blue.
Yeah.
The rest of their wool is not blue. So there are different types of different breeds of sheep that make different types of yarn. There's also cashmere, which comes from goats. There's yak yarn. There's camel yarn.
Oh, wow.
And silk is considered a animal fiber as well.
And that's made by the silkworms, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And within silk, there's different types of silk.
Mm-hmm.
So
we met that
Tussa
lady.
silk.
What lady did we
That
meet?
lady who makes fibers.
Is she a caterpillar?
In East Hampton. That woman we met in East Hampton.
Oh, we went to like an open studio thing.
And there was a woman there,
okay.
and she made yarn, like she had a loom.
Oh,
remember?
I have her pamphlet.
I know. We got to get her on so that we
yeah.
can connect all the dots. We have the yarn. We have the person that makes the yarn, that dyes the yarn, and then uses the yarn.
Spotted Sheep Studio.
Yeah.
In East Hampton. Yeah, she seemed, and like you, Jen, she was an anthropologist and a historian. And she had this like curio case full of like
super cool.
These like ancient knitting like tools. It was really interesting.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she's on my list to talk to.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. You know, when someone comes up to the table, sometimes, you know, someone will come up to the table with their son or grandson, and they don't seem all that interested. And sometimes it's the grandson or the son that's the knitter. If my mother-in-law is with me, she always tells them the first knitters were men. And their eyes just sort of like widen, and they get like, oh, really? Yeah, fishermen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you use like computers or anything at all in your process? Like, is that part of your process at all?
No. I mean, at the beginning, I was using Excel to keep track of recipes, but I tossed that out.
Okay.
But social media is the only thing that I'm using. You know, you got to get the word out there about your business, and that is the way to do it now.
That's awesome. So you truly have an apocalypse durable situation here. We
Without
don't need
social media.
We don't need computers.
Oh, that's where you're going with that?
Heat and buckets.
Got it.
Yep.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
I need water and heat, and I mean, I could do this out on a campfire.
Wow.
Which I would love to try.
Do you have a favorite fiber to work with? Is there a favorite type of wool, or like you're just like, oh, this one always takes the dye the way I want it to, or?
Oh, wow. I didn't know you were going to throw me a trick question.
Sorry.
Oh gosh. No, I don't think that I do.
Okay.
I haven't enjoyed working with all of the yarns that I have tried as far as like making something. Yeah. But they've all been interesting. Some I've bought once and I go, no, I'm not buying that again. You know what? Maybe the yarn that I was using over the summer that was, it was merino, silk, and seaweed.
Whoa.
It had a little seaweed in it. So there are some yarns that I will use that have a little bit of a plant fiber in them. So I have a sock yarn that I use that has merino and bamboo. But I don't use straight plant fiber yarns. But this one has a little bit of seaweed in it. And it's got this, with the silk and the seaweed, it has this really cool sheen to it. Yeah. Which really the dye is just, it takes on, it's just different. It's just different. It's shiny. Though when that yarn dries is not pleasant. It's like low tide, but you can really smell the seaweed. Wow.
That's crazy.
I dye that out. I dry that outside.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know people did that with seaweed.
It's just so crazy that you can take these fibers and make them into anything.
I know.
I once got a sample of yarn that was made with milk protein.
Huh. What? That's amazing.
I have no idea how that works.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that must involve like some kind of like heavy machinery and like industrial processes, right? To be able to do something to the proteins in the milk.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. So along your journey, have you discovered like a favorite dye that you like to make? Or is there something that you really like to work with?
Well, I love working with the things I can forage because that just makes me feel like, you know, a colonial American out there. Like, it just makes me feel like more of a human animal as rather than a Facebook looking,
right, like more like
humanoid. So I enjoy anything that I forage for. But logwood is probably my favorite overall. And that I have to buy because it doesn't grow around here.
What's logwood?
It's the inner wood, the heartwood of the logwood tree. And it, I think it mainly grows or grew in the Caribbean. The history of it is, for dyeing, is that it was harvested in the Caribbean. And it's earlier what I said that it was used by the Puritans to dye their clothes. And it comes as what looks like a bag of mulch, like a reddish brown mulch, and you simmer it and you get this reddish brown water dye. And when you put your yarn into it, you get the most brilliant purples you've ever seen.
Huh.
Like,
really?
the first time I used it, and I I put the yarn in. It was one skein. I put the yarn in. I went upstairs. My husband and I had lunch. We cleaned up, blah, blah, blah. I forgot. Oh my God, I have yarn in the pot. I ran downstairs. I pulled it out and it was black.
Oh, wow.
And I actually thought to myself, oh my God, I burned it.
Yeah. That's funny.
But as it started to, drip and the water started coming out of it, it was the darkest purple I had ever seen.
That reminds me a little of, believe it or not, tattooing, right? Because when a tattoo artist is putting ink into you, like it initially looks very different than it's going to look. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to be able to see, you need to be able to see a few steps down the road, like past the drying stage. And like, is that how you have to think when you're dyeing?
The yarns dry lighter than when you pull it out of the pot. Yeah. That particular yarn didn't lighten up all that much, but they'll lighten as they dry.
Yeah, I love.
And I'm only now just kind of figuring out that I'm really, when they're drying, when they're drip drying, when they're still at the dripping phase, I really need to turn them. Yeah. Because the color will then settle at the So, and I'm only, I'm learning. I'm self-taught here, so I'm learning all this stuff and go, ooh, yeah, I got to turn the yarn, I think. Yeah,
I'm wondering if you're, you could build like a rack that like that swivels somehow, like spin it. You know what I mean? Like a windmill.
We're just going to drape it over your arms.
I'm patenting that.
You're patenting that?
Yeah. Nobody steal that idea from me.
I'm sure somebody's outside and the wind just turns it.
The yarn drying
downstairs to spin the wheel.
You all heard it here. The yarn drying windmill is mine.
I'm sure somebody has already thought of this.
How dare you?
Yeah.
It's my idea. What inspires you as an artist, as somebody when you're doing this, or do you have a muse when it comes to this stuff?
I never thought in my life anyone would ask me this question. Wow.
Well, I see. I mean, I do see you as an artist.
I do as well, but I never, ever, ever thought I would be called one. So really, I look at nature very differently. I'm paying attention when I'm outside now. Yeah. That plant has probably been here in this field for the last 7 years that I've been walking here. Never noticed it until now. And it's just the colors that are out there, the plants that are out there. Yeah. They're all there for a reason. So there's a weed that I discovered thanks to someone else who pointed it out to me, that you can use it to dye with. It's called jewelweed. And it's got these little orange flowers that hang off of it. They look so delicate. And it is a weed. It grows everywhere. And the person who told me about it is someone who's into herbs. And she said, oh yeah, you can dye with it and you'll get orange. And I said, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. She said, it's also, jewelweed is a remedy for poison ivy. Huh. So she makes a salve that, you put on, a balm to get rid of poison ivy, but you can also dye with it. And she said it always grows near poison ivy.
Of course it does.
No, yeah.
Of course it does.
So that raises an interesting question in my mind. Do you have to worry about like poisons and like some of these plants are poisonous, like possibly, like especially berries and stuff? Is that something you think about or have to be careful of when you're working with the materials?
Pokeberries, pokeweed, which is an invasive weed. The pokeberries are great for dyeing, but they are toxic. They're poisonous. We can't eat them.
Right.
As long as I don't put them in my mouth, I'm fine. Yeah. But they also stain your hands, so you want to pick them with gloves.
Yeah.
But I haven't come across anything that I have been worried about. Yeah. Rhubarb leaf is quite toxic. I have not used it to dye with yet. It's a common natural dye, but it is toxic. So I would like, just to be safe, I'd wear a mask doing that.
I think I knew that, like in the context of pies, Stomping Jen. Like I think I'd heard that part of the rhubarb plant is poisonous.
Yeah.
Isn't
that funny?
Yeah, I love rhubarb pie.
You do?
Yeah. Rhubarb
like, how
strawberry.
does the poison stop?
Yeah.
At this point, it's not poisonous anymore.
I think the rhubarb is like the root part of it, right?
I don't know anything about rhubarb. I've never
maybe
used
not.
it.
It's the stalk.
The stalk, okay.
It's the stalk that you eat grows above the ground with the leaf attached. So I don't understand how it's not poisonous from here down.
Maybe it anticipates only very polite rabbits eating it. We start from the top and work our way down. Oh no, this doesn't taste good. Okay, next.
Oh boy.
Another dye you guys might find interesting is avocado pit.
What?
So avocado
throw those
pits,
in the garbage, in the compost.
You know, they put them in the freezer, put them in a bag in the freezer, and save them for me.
Yeah,
right. I'll do that.
They create pink.
What?
All right.
Pinks and salmon colors.
We gotta start keeping.
My mind is totally blown.
Pits.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about banana peels? Do you do anything with those? We have a lot of banana peels in our house.
No. Put those in the compost.
I had no idea.
The compost worms love them.
Oh, gosh.
I had no idea. So do you have to, like if you crush it up and you throw it into the pot, does that become immediately evident with the avocado seeds, or do you have to do something else to draw the pink out of it?
No, just simmer them. And I usually just cut them in quarters and toss them in.
That's so fascinating to me. Who are your customers? Like who's buying these natural hand dyed yarns?
So people who how do I do this? My mother and I have been discussing what my demographic is, and it's 30 to maybe 60, 65.
Okay.
Beyond that, they tend to buy their yarn at a big chain store.
Box.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. But knitters who are getting their yarn at smaller yarn shops, they're getting quality yarns, natural yarns, not acrylic yarn. They know the value in hand-dyed yarn. Hand-dyed yarn is expensive.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's done in small batches. And in my particular case, sometimes I have to wait for it to grow. Or it's, I do it seasonally because it's what I can get now. And so they're people who know the value of a hand-dyed yarn and who can afford hand-dyed yarns.
Yeah.
So
are there yarn CSAs? You should do the first yarn CSA if that doesn't exist.
Oh, there are lately. In the last couple of years, there's been like a kind of a pop up of like yarn clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially with a small independent hand dyer, you can join, and then it's a subscription, type of thing. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
I'm curious. Cool. I know you like Stomping Jen met you, Jen, like at a local farmers market. Like, are you able to reach people outside of our regional area, which is Western Massachusetts? And are people able to find you pretty easily, like on the web? And I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yes. I've had some local people purchase my yarn online to send it to people outside of the area, like across the country. But I am in a local yarn shop here, in Holden, which is, next town over here. The Sheep Shack, my friend Cynthia owns it. And, she wanted to have my yarn there, which made me feel so good. Yeah. It's always nice. And I had some yarn literally up the street from me at a bookstore, a small little place that, I've been very supportive of them since they moved in, and now they're being very supportive of me. I did a lot of these festivals and farmers markets over the summer and fall and Christmas. And I've met a lot of people. I've met at every single one I meet, either someone coming up to my table as a customer or someone there as a vendor who said, "Oh my God, I heard you were going to be here." And I'm like, "You talking about me?"
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, we saw we saw somebody online like today or yesterday asking about Jen's
but it wasn't
yarn.
her. It wasn't her.
Oh, it wasn't? Well, but
Audrey and I both thought it was.
Oh, okay. Well, but still, it's that idea that people are attracted to these handmade, high quality things like Jen is making through Speakman Sisters.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're
yeah.
Even though they might cost a little bit more because they're small batch and you know very like small produced, so you don't have those economies of scale. I think there's, in general, over the pandemic, there's been this return to local, unique type goods as opposed, and a little bit of a rejection of huge consumerism. But, I don't know if that'll keep. I hope it does because, there's so much value.
Yeah.
In that mindset.
I agree with you 100%. I think it's a return to something that is fundamentally and elementally human about us.
Yeah.
Right? Which is getting together and like selling stuff to each other on a small scale.
Well,
right?
It's crazy to me. So, okay.
Go ahead.
So somebody posted on social media about how our local Stop and Shop had no eggs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we literally live in a valley filled with people who sell eggs outside their house. Like, you can go anywhere up the street and get eggs off the road.
But you know what I love about that?
Yeah.
Somebody in the community stepped up and said, I have 15 chickens. I have more eggs than I know what to do with.
It's like the craziest thing to me. I'm like, you don't need to go to the supermarket. Sorry.
But this other person saw that post and they said, I've got eggs.
I know.
Like, this is the way we're supposed to function as people. Like, it's like this anthropological, we've gotten away from ourselves, Jen,
Yes.
I think.
Yes, we have. We certainly have. Yes. We use social media to bitch about the fact that we can't get eggs at Stop and Shop. But then we turn around and use social media to say, "Hey, neighbor, I have eggs."
Right. And
and they're better.
Yes, way better.
And part of what, and I really believe this, like I see part of what you're doing, these farmers markets, these craft fairs, it is a reduction to what is fundamentally human about us. Like, we love to get together and like be together and sell each other stuff and give each other stuff. And like, it's, you know what I mean?
But like, it's so like, it's so much more value and you can appreciate it so much more.
Yeah.
Especially
Absolutely.
if you know the person that made it.
Yes.
So I've met a lot of people doing
Yeah.
these fairs and festivals.
Yeah.
And I just visited with one of them today because I asked her to make me something. I commissioned a piece and I was picking it up. And we were talking about it, that I feel so lucky to have met some of the most wonderful crafters and artisans. I have only been doing this for a little over a year. And there are people out there doing such wonderful work, such beautiful work. And every single one of us, even though we all say, "Oh, I don't know how to do that. I could never do that." We all have it in us, in ourselves, to find to find something we can do, something beautiful that we can make. If we just took the time and we turned the phone away for a minute, or used it to find inspiration. And I've met such wonderful people. One of the best things about creating the Speakman Sisters is the community that I've joined. That I didn't think of that when I started with those marigolds. Right. I thought, oh, this is great. I'll do this for fun. Oh, I'll do this for business. But I never considered the circle I was joining. The woodworkers and the sewers, the quilters and the glass blowers and the pottery people and I never expected to meet all these people. And they're wonderful, and they're just trying to keep sane during an insane time.
Sure. Getting the chills.
For sure.
Or some of us don't have jobs, and this is what we're doing. Like me.
But I mean, it's amazing. Like I've been a long supporter of artisans and local vendors and all of that kind of energy, and I'm so thrilled to see other people appreciating it.
And and that's one of the reasons I love having artists on the podcast. Well, and this I mean, Jen, like talking to people like you who make stuff, right, and love connecting with other people grew out of the pandemic. I mean, prior to that, we were just a podcast with the two of us, you know, kind of sitting here just doing whatever we wanted to. But this has really, I feel like, helped us grow and like help us find
a voice.
Even I'm not going to go so far as to say it's our mission, but I love bringing. I love that we have a local focus for our area, Western Massachusetts and New England, and that we can share the amazing people we stumble across, like at farmers markets with the rest of the world. Like for some odd reason, we have a growing and robust listener base in the Ukraine.
What?
Yeah, the Ukraine. I can't figure it out. Okay. They love us in the Ukraine. Hello, Ukraine. But
okay.
But anyways, so it's amazing. People connect what? People connecting to people, right? Right, Stomping Jen?
Yep, that's right. That's why we do this.
Jen, I wanted to ask you, so dying, based on that video I watched, seems like it's not easy work. It's physical work. You're in a hot space. You're moving boiling pots and skeins and all of this stuff. How do you care for yourself, like physically and mentally, so that you can do that work? Like, how do you?
Well, you're finding me at a very strange time where I stopped working. I stopped doing massage in August, and so I've been searching for a job ever since, and it's not been easy. So my sanity is something I need to pay attention to because I'm home a lot. But I have this that I can do. I can go down to my workshop and pretend I'm not at home.
Right.
You know, I'm not at home. I'm working. I am working. If it's bringing me in even $1, I am working.
That's right.
So, my husband and I both love to cook. I'm now back to crocheting. Now that I'm not doing massage, I'm able to crochet. So I've been working on something. I got to special dye the yarn for myself.
Oh.
I commissioned myself to dye some yarn.
That's awesome.
So that I could make something. So that was fun. I'm very close with my family. And when I say close, I mean my parents live a minute and a half in one direction, minute and a half away in one direction, and my sister and brother-in-law and my 20-month-old niece live about 3 minutes in the other direction, and I see them all the time.
Yeah,
that's great.
And that keeps me sane and healthy.
Yeah.
I'm just getting chills again thinking about.
Put on a sweater.
Yeah. I'm going to run upstairs and get that
cardigan.
that lamb's wool cardigan. So I know, Jen, I know Speakman Sisters, natural hand-dyed yarns is still in its infancy and you're figuring out where it's going to go. Where do you see that? What's your vision?
My vision has been a large open space. I mean, it's pretty specific. A large open space in an old factory in the Speakman Sisters neighborhood. So I really want to be in that area, in one of the old brick mills.
Yeah.
And I want it to just be a big open space where I work and do the dyeing, but there's also a corner where I have a little retail where I can sell some of the yarn. It wouldn't be the only retail outlet for buying my yarn, but I would have that. I would have a meeting space in the middle for people to just come and hang and knit and talk, maybe have coffee with their friend and knit, or knitting groups to meet, or knitting, crocheting teachers to teach different workshops. And I would like it to have access to an outdoor area for a garden to grow plants that I can use.
Oh, that's awesome. I hadn't
That
even
is
thought
my
about that.
plan.
That's awesome.
That's
I love
my
that.
goal.
That's an awesome.
There is there's a couple that live near Oakland, California.
Yeah.
The woman who started it, she started this business. She's a natural dyer, just like I am. I read about her in a book after I had come up with my plan as to what I wanted to do, and I read about her and thought, oh my God, she's doing what I want to do. Her and her partner have, so she's the dyer. Her partner does a lot of the plant growing and cultivation. They have a dye workshop and they have a retail store. And in the middle, they have a garden in between the two spaces, and it looks lovely.
I love that.
Of course, they live in California.
Yeah.
They can grow stuff all the time.
That's right.
But it was so funny to like see that and go, oh my God, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
For sure.
Did you reach out to them in any way?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm kind of shy to do that.
Yeah. I bet they would be
Oh no, they totally talk to you.
receptive.
100%.
Their business is called A Verb for Keeping Warm.
A verb for keeping warm. I'm going to tag them in our post for this. A verb.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll hear this.
And they'll call you.
For keeping warm. Okay. Taking a note, Stomping Jen. I was taking a note. So Jen, as we move towards beginning to wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to tell us, either about what you're doing, what you have planned, a site or anything like that? Yeah.
Sure. I started a crowdfunding campaign for this big plan back in September on ifundwomen.com.
Oh, cool.
It's a wonderful platform for women with small businesses. They give a lot of coaching, a lot of workshops, and it's very easy to create your crowdfunding campaign. I started that in September. It's going until at least March. I may extend it. I'm just looking to have the community help me put this thing together to help the community. I mean, it would be considered part of the arts community here in Worcester, which has exploded. And I just want to be part of that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so listen up, folks. I'm going to put the link to that in the show notes, so go check it out. I'm going to have all of the other links to Speakman Sisters web presences, so the website, the Facebook, the Instagram, Pinterest.
All the socials.
It's all going to be there.
Awesome.
So check it out. Do me a favor and check all that stuff out.
Oh, and one more thing. Back in the spring, I think it was in the spring, I found out that Kamala Harris is a crocheter.
Oh.
And I specially dyed some yarn for her.
What?
And sent it to her. Yes. Yeah. I did. I sent her some yarn. I dyed it with a dye material called Kamala.
Oh.
It's spelled exactly the same way. And it is a dye from India. And it creates bright yellows and mango colors.
Oh.
And I dyed her some yarn. I named it Amanda Gorman because it came out the exact same color as her coat from the inauguration. And I did finally, I think was this fall, finally got a little thank you card. I mean, it's not a...
That is awesome.
You know, sort of the fill in your name here, but
that's great.
But still, it was awesome. I hope that Secret Service didn't blow it up or anything. And she does get to use it. That would be nice. So.
Maybe it'll make an appearance in something that she wears at some point.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. That's awesome.
And now I found out that Michelle Obama's a knitter. That she took up knitting, I think, during the pandemic. So I'm going to have to get on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Vice presidential and first ladies might be an angle here.
There you go. Yeah. There's your target market.
Yeah. Although probably want
the money.
There's not many of them, so
no.
So there's probably. I'm not a business person, Jen, obviously. So. All right. So a couple of other questions. Not really related to hand dyeing. We like to ask these questions of everybody. So I'm sort of thinking. I think you may have answered this one already, but. What do you like to do when you're not doing Speakman Sisters stuff?
Oh, cooking, reading, and spending time with my niece.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you read any good books lately?
So I wasn't reading for a while because I was getting ready for holiday craft fairs and stuff. So now that that's over, I'm actually rereading for like the 4 billionth time Wuthering Heights.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've never read that. You've been reading some interesting stuff.
Oh, I've been reading fluff intentionally.
Yeah.
I solicited from friends a bunch of fluff books because we went on a cruise.
Stompy Jen told me, but I was like, what are you reading? She's like, oh, this book about a woman who had an affair with some guy one summer. And then the book is about she meets him every summer for the next 28 summers.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's called 28 Summers.
Yeah.
Oh. That is fluff. Yes.
It's very fluff.
I just read... I've never read a graphic novel in my life.
Oh, what'd you read?
Which one did you read?
I read Paper Girls, the first one.
I've never heard
I don't know that
Paper
one.
Girls.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's cute. It's cute. I mean, I hadn't read a comic since I used to read Archie.
Yeah.
So they've come a long way.
Oh, they've come a long way. Yeah.
But my husband was given a bunch of graphic novels for Christmas from a friend, and that was in there, and he thought I'd like it, so I read it, and I'm looking forward to reading the next volume of it.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's so exciting.
It's about 4 girls who deliver newspapers in the 80s on their bikes in the neighborhoods.
Oh,
yeah.
That's interesting.
Graphic novels have come a long way.
Yeah.
A really long way. There's a local children's bookstore out here, and like her specialty is graphic novels for children, for like teens and tweens and all that. So our kids have read a lot of graphic novels. But
yeah. So this last question, Jen, we have it's not really meant to be a trick question or anything like that. Some people are surprised by it, but
oh boy, okay,
right?
Yeah. So I'll just ask it. Is there anything that comes to mind what have you experienced that you can't explain? So it could be supernatural, it could be political, it could be
anything.
It could be
I can't explain.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's only a trick question because I wasn't prepared for it.
That's right.
Like I have no idea.
And that's totally fine. Yeah.
But I can't explain.
Yeah. We have many, many people after 160 something episodes who just say, I'm not answering that. So it's totally fine.
I can't explain. Yeah. Nope.
Okay. That's good.
Nope. Maybe I've never, this is weird, but I've never been a kid person. I don't have children. I didn't want children. I knew that when I was a teenager. Like I don't hang with kids. Like I don't get kids. But as soon as my niece came into our lives,
this is
done.
so interesting.
She's the best person I've ever met.
Of course.
And I love that. And
She's yours.
It's so interesting you just mentioned that, because we just interviewed a filmmaker 2 episodes ago. What was it? Is it episode 167? I think. Therese Schechter. She made a film called My So-Called Selfish Life, and it is all about women who make the choice not to have children. I mean, it's one of my favorite conversations I've had in the last, year or so.
Some people do it just to piss off the Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she leaves open the door for any reason, right?
Yeah.
That a woman decides that this is not for me as being valid and just. But anyways, listen to that episode.
If you're interested,
she is an amazing human
Absolutely.
being.
I am interested. That sounds fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I also feel like I look at kids and go, I could never. I've always been like this.
Yeah.
Never was like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forgot what it's like to be a kid somewhere along the line, and I can't relate to them. But my niece, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
That's great.
You love her, and there's no need.
She's the best.
No need to explain that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Jen Wood, I need to say thank you.
Thank you
for coming.
And you're welcome.
For coming and talking to us about Speakman Sisters, natural hand-dyed yarns.
Yes.
I learned a lot stomping, Jen.
Yes.
The thing that pops into my mind is that the avocado seed.
I know, you have to start saving all
is a
this
source of pink and red dyes.
Yeah. My sister and my niece eat a ton of avocados. So I get a bag from them all the time.
Nice.
So thank you for what you're doing out there. Like I said, I think people like you will see us through the apocalypse once it happens. Sorry, I don't mean to keep introducing that, but we're watching.
It seems likely.
And we're watching this show called Station 11 on HBO, which is all about this. So, anyways, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, so we're going to say some stuff to our listeners now. Listeners, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Especially you folks in the Ukraine. Let's make a
oh my gosh.
a soft serve podcast wave sweep through the Ukraine.
Oh my gosh.
This could be the thing that keeps the Russians at bay. We could be like radio free Ukraine.
All right, people.
All right, sorry.
All right.
I'm going off on a thing here.
People.
Sorry, Jen. I didn't mean to pull you into this. Sorry.
You're
Jen's
falling
making
apart.
me laugh. Yeah.
You're falling apart over there.
Okay.
All right. We love you.
We love you. Thanks for listening.
Share these episodes.
Yeah.
When you listen to them and you say, hey.
Yep. Tell a friend about us.
Tell a friend.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Leave us a review.
Leave us a review, please. I've been asking for a while.
Tell us what you've been thinking.
Tell us what you've been thinking.
If you think we're funny, then tell us.
All right. We're going to go around and say goodbye now.
We are?
Yeah. Jen Wood, I'll give you the honor of going first.
Well, goodbye.
All right.
And however you say that in Ukraine.
It's going to be a movement. Stomping Jen.
Bye now.
All right, folks. Bye now.
This world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth. And that in the goodness of time, all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road.